everybody, and welcome to this edition of The Higher Estate. I have an amazing guest again today, a real warrior, both for cannabis and for our country. He was a vet. Well, he is a vet, and continues to talk about the benefits of cannabis for himself and for the veteran population at large. And I'm really excited to have him here, and we're really excited to talk about all those wonderful things that cannabis is doing for people in the veterans world. But before we get to that, we're going to talk about our usual couple things in the news. What's happened in current events? So I think the first thing we'll talk about is Shopify. Interesting. So the Canadian government has decided to use Shopify for their online sales of the government-controlled cannabis market. So now there's going to be two markets, in Ontario that is, sorry. In Ontario, we're going to be using both retail stores, retail outlets, and they're going to start off with somewhere around 40 of those stores, work their way up to about 150, and then there'll be online sales, I'm hearing now as well, which is good, but at the same time, again, it's Ontario's way of controlling the cannabis market, which I think we all take some issue with, because once again, it doesn't open up to a full-blown market that already exists. What happens to the people who are already around? And that brings me to our second current event, and that's the unfortunate raiding of MMJ this past week. They are reopened, from what I hear today. Actually reopened with the ED, because that would otherwise I'd be British. I think opened. No, is that even a word? Is opened a word? No, it's opened. Right? I think. Anyway, whatever. Anyway, so I'm going to stay on task again today, and I'm not going to swear again. Great idea from Ari, who's sitting out in the bleachers. We have to have a swearing jar. It's a great idea. That's going to be our next, by next week, you're going to see a swear jar, and it's probably just going to hit, all you'll hear is the cha-ching of coins hitting this jar. Anyway, okay, so they got raided. They're reopened. I'm not certain what's happening in that. I know that tomorrow we have a round table at City Hall to discuss the moving forward of vape lounges and what's going to happen in Hamilton. I will be attending that as well. I was invited by Clint from MMJ. That'll be, I'm excited to sit down and do that. And then finally, we are talking about veterans today. And this past Saturday, they had the Veterans Appreciation Night over at, everybody went to the hockey game. I think everybody went to a hockey game, and they had a medicated dinner. And we're going to chat. Well, I guess not everybody that went to the hockey game had a medicated dinner. That would be an interesting hockey game, mind you, if they were all high at the hockey game or medicated. Anyway, all right, that's all I've got for cannabis news over the last little bit. I'd like to just move right into our guest. So our guest, who I mentioned earlier, he has his own show called the Shamus O'Reilly Show, and he's out of Newfoundland, and I mean, he reaches who knows how many people, and he's helped so many people, especially around the veterans world, try to understand mental health and help realize that it's a real disease, and how cannabis can help that. I want to welcome Shamus O'Reilly to our show today, and I'm really excited to have you here, and I'm really excited just to shoot the shit, but I'm not going to swear today, so I won't say that. And I'm just really excited to have you here. Thank you so much for
thank you so much,
coming
Doc,
on.
and for the introduction. It's kind of overwhelming. We have I have a page that it started off just as no real direction. It was just going to be kind of a day in the life of a soldier with PTSD. So it really took off from there. I think a lot of the things that I say to people really resonate, and who knew that how many people were out there still kind of hiding in their basements and this sort of thing, that there's a lot of beautiful websites out there but it takes you to a link to this. I wanted my show to be just a little bit more interactive, where you could just kind of sit back and just listen. So that was that's how it started out, and the response has just been ridiculous.
I think it's kind of amazing how, not many vets come out and talk outwardly about PTSD, or talk about, how they were and where they are right now. And I mean, I certainly commend you for that. Actually, you know, I listen to your show as well, and I like it because I've got ADD and it's only a couple minutes long each time, so I love it. And by the way, we're not going to talk about hair today, but we always seem to come back to there. He's got a hat, and I want the damn hat. That's a really nice hat. I think next time I'm going to wear a hat so I can't talk about my hair. But you mentioned this really, you had this quote, and I love it because I even feel like it resonates with me. And I'm just going to read it. It says, "If you're judging me on the way you knew me, let me introduce myself." I think that is like, I like hands down one of the best lines I've heard, and I'm going to steal it from you, but I'll give you credit for it every time I use it.
Thank you.
I love it. What does that mean to you?
I mean, veterans, we know each other in such a capacity that, I mean, like when you spend any amount of time in the military, you're eating, sleeping, drinking with these guys. You're going on tour, on course. So, you know, we were all different people then, of course. You know, young, hard charging, you know, wanting to do this course or that course. And it's kind of who people, I guess back then, that's who I became. I was just Shamus. Oh yeah, he's good to go out to the bar and have a beer with, and he's a bit of fun, and you know. But my eyes have been really opened up to what I've lost and what I've taken from others. And I'll use the example of my wife and my ex-wife and my children. I mean, they didn't ask for any of this, and you know, their lives completely got flipped upside down. They lost their home because I lost the home, and so it's just, I've really taken a turn for the better, I think. So, like, basically, as the quote suggests, I mean, if someone says, "Do you know Shamus?" It's like, "Oh yeah, I knew him when we were in the Army." Well, you might want to check on me again because I'm not that guy no more.
How old were you when you joined the military?
18.
You were 18. How long were you in the military for?
18 years.
Holy shit! So wow. And you've been to theater, did you go overseas? No.
Yeah, I went to Haiti in 1997 with the United Nations.
Wow.
And then I was in Bosnia in 2002, and then back into Haiti again in 2004.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you experienced a lot.
Absolutely.
And what was it like when you came back?
That was the thing. You know, PTSD is tricky, you know.
If you're okay talking about this, we can
absolutely.
just play our weed-opoly, which we'll play at the end.
Sure. No, absolutely. I mean, this is all part of what I'm doing to try to get the word out. So, I mean, I talk about the thing that I know the best, and that's me. For me, it was just, I found, first it was my patience were getting very thin with everything, my kids, my wife, even work. And then that kind of translated quickly into anger. And I just assumed that I was just an angry, pissed off guy. And, you know, I'm Irish descendant from Newfoundland. We're not known for being patient, calm people. So I kind of took it as, this is who I am now. You know?
Newfies are the nicest people around.
We are.
Kombucha, by the way. Cheers to kombucha. We'll come back to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is our usual go-to.
Okay. It's tasty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so after my tours were over, I left Kingston. I was posted to Gander, Newfoundland, which was really exciting for me to get back home. And life was fine. It was still kind of little ups and downs. And I went back to Kingston on a career course. And that's where I kind of lost my stuff. I came unglued, and I said I can't go back in there into the classroom where we were being taught. I was shaking like a leaf, and I just went out to the smoking area and just started chain smoking cigarettes. A lot of my friends came out, of course, to check on me to make sure what was wrong, and I said I don't know. I started to cry. I called my wife at the time and told her, and she said go to the hospital. And when I got, I guess they fed me Ativan to keep me going.
Have you been prior to cannabis, and we'll talk about your cannabis, you know, how you got into cannabis and stuff, but prior to cannabis, what were you medicated with? What was the go-to at the time?
Prior to cannabis, to be honest, it was outside of the pharmaceuticals that I was on, it was alcohol.
It was.
Yeah, because
which is common. It's an easy way to medicate, and it helps in certain circumstances, but it's just masking, right?
Yeah, and it wasn't illegal because my anxiety and stuff would be so bad that to go out and try to find cannabis, it wasn't worth the amount of anguish I'd put myself through. So it was alcohol. So and then once, my doctor, God love her, when she finally said, what else are you doing? Question you just proposed to me. And I said, well, I'm drinking more than I know I should be. And I said, if I can get my hands on some weed, I'm smoking weed too.
Wow.
And she surprised me with saying, well, let's get you a cannabis license.
And is that how you got into the cannabis world?
Absolutely.
When was that? Like, what brought you into the cannabis world, and what keeps you in the cannabis world?
What brought me in was I was a shut-in. I wouldn't leave my house.
Really?
I would not leave my house. I would talk to a few select friends, on Facebook or other texting or something, but I couldn't go to malls. I couldn't go visit people. Everything irritated me to the point where, I would get anxious about the feelings that I know were going to come if I did this. So
Right.
if I just threw my hands in the air and said, I'm not doing it, I'm not going anywhere, my days were easier. Once I started cannabis as a medical regime and taking it and keeping the medicine in my system, not just smoking a joint when I'm stressed, all of a sudden I want to tell people,
You want to be active.
I want to get off the couch now, and I would like
100%.
to look at me. I mean, you seen me last week, look at me today, and
Right.
what's changed, Shamus? Cannabis, you know?
Right.
But, some people's opinions of it, of course, are still archaic. you know?
Certainly. I mean, I know that I've dealt, I've been in the industry now, working with cannabis probably for about 8 years, 7, 8 years, something like that. And when I know when I started, and I speak about it all the time, there was nobody in the medical field really outside of some researchers that wanted anything to do with it. I was shunned by everybody from, my colleagues to the college to clinics to the media to fuck you. Oh, shoot.
Ching,
there you
ching.
go. Start throwing the bucket down.
Ching, ching.
Yeah. So from everybody, I know what it's like to feel like you're sitting on the outside. I tend to feel like I'm sitting on the outside all the time, but now at least you find community. And what I find that you're doing in your world is you're creating community. You're taking people that otherwise would have nobody, or otherwise, are sitting recluse and not talking. And you're talking about those issues and you're bringing them out. Just watching your show and just listening to what people are saying about what you're doing, I think it's tremendous. You don't find many people that are doing that, especially from the world that you come from. And so for that, I think it's outstanding. So what are you doing in the canna world? So you got hooked up with Canna Connect, right? Yep. And they're doing great things for the Ari. That is not even looking while I'm freaking plugging him.
I got a free plug too. Yeah.
Damn guy's not. Oh right, there you go. Say thanks.
Thanks, Ira.
There you go. We'll plug it all.
Yeah.
We're all friends. Our goal is just to create community. That's what we do here on the show. My goal isn't to plug any specific, hey, we're trying to sell stuff. We're not. We're just trying to spread love and peace and light and build community. And by having guys like you on here and people that, have your experiences, I think that's what we're doing. But I think that's what you're doing in particular for a group that doesn't have an outlet. I mean, they're starting to. People like Canna Connect are coming around. People like Veterans Channels coming around. There are people coming out that are doing it, but you need the people, the leaders, and I see you as a leader. So what are you doing? When Canna Connect hit you, what happened? Like what started it all? You found cannabis. Did you just stop everything? I'm assuming things don't just stop. You don't just stop your medicine day one, or maybe you do.
No.
I don't know.
No, I was my medical doctor is a veteran, and she was very vigilant in weaning me off the things that I was on in order for a smooth transition. I mean, as to use her words, she didn't want to set me up to fail.
Right.
So, through what she did to get me onto the cannabis, and then of course I wasn't using it like a medicine because it was quote unquote weed. You know what I mean? It goes with the 6-pack of beer, and
right.
It's, but. I did some research, and I have some very intelligent friends, and my prescription is so many grams per day. And once I made sure that I took that prescription, and I keep the medication in my system at a constant level, my life is no more peaks and valleys. It's really leveled off, and I feel the need to want to share that with other people, because, I mean, I've watched people who have, chronic pain and just, I can't get stoned. I don't want to get stoned. Well, you don't have to.
I hear that all the time.
Yeah, we have Avidecal oil here, which is 0.0% THC. And then, they're literally skipping away 30 minutes later, how come we never had this before?
Right.
How come this? How come that? And, some people are delighted with the effect, well, most are, but some actually get angry that it's been held back from them.
Yeah, no, I agree. I remember even the military back in 2011, I used to get letters from them when I had patients who would sign up, and they'd say, don't sign our patients up. But then it changed. But then, listen, I'm not going to get political, but I am going to get political for 2 seconds.
Sure.
Because I want to know your opinion on it. Because, yeah, the military has come around to it for sure. But I also, you mentioned something, about Trudeau the other day. Trudeau says, he says, you guys are asking more than we can give. What the hell does that fucking mean? Sorry.
Cha-ching.
Right. What does that mean? Like, who says that to a veteran?
I don't know, and I think the response from the veteran community will be noted come election time. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not a political activist at all.
Right, me neither.
But I honestly think that statement was probably one of the worst timed things he could have ever said to one of our heroes standing on an artificial leg.
Doesn't make sense.
No, I think
doesn't make sense.
Collectively, I think our nation's jaw dropped.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't make any sense. I don't know if he was talking backhandedly, if he didn't give it much thought, but I feel like a lot of the stuff that, they doing for veterans, they're not really giving enough thought to, specifically around PTSD and coming back after you retire, after you're out of theater. What are the ramifications afterwards? You have a caseworker, go figure it out yourself. That I don't necessarily think that's the right answer, but I see what you're doing. And I think building that community is one of those answers, because peer-to-peer seems to be more effective. Suicide is real, amongst veterans, and peer-to-peer collaboration seems to be one of the interventions that seems to be most helpful for other veterans, because you can understand each other. Not to say that we don't understand each other, of course, because I feel like we've kind of bonded. Even in our 2 seconds we just had.
Yeah.
Shaw, and wearing the hat. I want a hat. But at the end of the day, I think peer-to-peer, it works like that with pretty much any career that you have. Peer-to-peer seems to work really well, and you've been doing a really good job of that. So really, what you've been doing, you've come out and you've got the Shamus show, the Shamus O'Reilly Show, and it's great. You're sitting in your shed most of the time.
My recording studio.
Is that what you do? Tell me, what do you do? You just pull out your phone?
I simply just... I'm not very digital, I'm more analog, so I just kind of take out my phone, turn it sideways, and I just start talking like there's somebody in the room with me.
Really?
And, I've had people say that it's not the fact that what I'm doing, it's how my delivery is,
yeah.
And that's what I think is really is keeping my fan base kind of where it is and letting it grow, is because, not every show is going to affect everybody, but if I talk about one thing and then that one person, kind of like, oh my God, I can't believe he just said that, or that's exactly how I feel, then my job's done for the day.
What would you like to see happen in the cannabis space? You're in Newfoundland. I think I asked you before, what's happening in Newfoundland in the medical cannabis space? What is happening over in Newfoundland, and what would you like to see happen? What would you like to see for one in general, and what would you like to see for vets in particular?
Well, if I could do anything in this industry that would be long-lasting, it would be, you're not allowed to talk about this unless you're talking facts. If you don't, your opinion of cannabis is not my concern. I need to know the facts. And
enough with the bro science.
enough with that. Exactly.
I call it bro science.
That's right. And it's a good term, like in Newfoundland. And
you can use that term as long as I can use that first
absolutely.
quote.
We'll trade them up.
Yeah. All right.
So, but in Newfoundland or right across the country, I wish that they weren't associating the cannabis with the alcohol.
Yeah.
That is the biggest thing with me because it actually makes my job a little bit harder, I think, when I'm trying to explain the benefits of this as a medicine and when the LCBO is going to be selling it and controlling it. It's just, it seems counterproductive to what the medical cannabis industry has done over the last 10 years. I think it's just, it takes away from us. And, now my medicine, you can go pick it up with a case of beer on Friday and sit in the shed. It's just, it really kind of disqualifies what everyone has been doing for so many years to get us to this point. And
the work that we've been doing trying to get us to trying to legitimize cannabis as a medicine, which it is. I mean, we have the studies. We don't, we could go into all of the studies and the lack of side effects thereof, compared to all the other laundry list of pharmaceuticals that we put people on.
Well, I mean, I hear from most of the veterans that sit down and talk to me about how cannabis has really made the difference. This was the one thing that changed. And we're talking about, like, I came off of 7 pills or 8 pills, but then when we talk about the pills, it was funny. Like, it didn't take me long to realize that, okay, out of those 7 pills, 1 is treating your condition. The rest are side effects.
Right.
Right? Like, that one's to help you sleep, and then that one's so your legs won't start kicking in the middle of the night, and this one's for that one, and this one's for that metallic taste in your mouth.
That you get from the other pill
because of that one that I just gave you, and this is the one that's going to cause weight, but this one will help your appetite. And the next thing you know, like, I forget what my pills, which pill does what. You know? So if you don't take them as a cocktail,
So when the way you learned about cannabis was from your physician,
No, my physician. We actually kind of educate each other on it. Okay. She asks me questions sometimes.
This is in Newfoundland?
In Newfoundland, yeah. But a lot of it was, as you mentioned, peer support. The veteran community has really taken a liking to medicinal cannabis because of everything else that they've had us on.
Why do you think that is?
I think for a couple of reasons. It gives guys back the quality of life that they crave. Soldiers, as a rule, are not introverts, We're outside all the time. We live outside,
Fair.
And when you take that away from someone who's done 20 to 25 years service and he can't go out for a walk in the woods anymore and he can't do this and he can't do that because the pills have him feeling all lethargic or whatever the case may be, cannabis, that does not exist with cannabis. So that, I think, is really what is bringing a lot of guys who would have been like in the military, they'd march you to jail for having a bag of weed.
Right.
But now these guys are trying to, something, this stuff really does work, and I need other people to know it, and so.
So your doctor, you were on all these pills.
Yeah.
And your doc comes around and she's like, I want to try you on cannabis for medicinal purposes.
Yes.
And you were full blown right away, let's try it.
Absolutely, not one hesitation at all. Nothing.
Being a vet, no matter what.
The only reservation I had about it, to be honest, it took me a while to get over the kind of anxiety of the court of public opinion. What are other people going to say to me? What are other people going to think? What are other people, And that was probably the biggest part for me. And then I understand I'm allowed to smoke this.
Can we stop for a photo op?
Sure. We have so we have I lost my train of thought there.
What were we talking about? Yes, we were talking about, shit. I don't know what we're talking about either. Court of public, right, because I want to talk about court of public opinion as well.
Yeah.
So you're talking about your one reservation. I'm really good at not having a train of thought. So that's part of my MO is where are we? I don't even know. Let's just go wherever. Jesus. Oh, court of public opinion. It's like squirrel what?
Yeah.
I don't know. God damn it. Court of public opinion. Your reservation.
Yes.
Your reservation was based on what people would think or what the VAC would, or I don't know what it is.
Well, basically friends, family members, other veterans. I mean, soldiers don't they pride themselves in the fact that, you can take the pain and suck it up and this sort of thing. And believe me, I tried, and it almost was the ruination of me. I almost brought an end to it all because of that. And that's when I realized that I'm not strong enough.
You said an amazing thing, and I quoted this too, because some of the stuff you say just blows my goddamn mind. You said this: my demons are strong, but the love for my son is stronger. That makes me want to lose my shit.
Well,
and you said, because you were in a dark place at that time.
Yes.
What brought, your son, your family, of course, brings you out of something like that. How do you bring yourself out of that?
And that's a good question.
And this is important for vets, man, because there's a lot of people in this situation. I see it all the time. Am I starting to sound like I'm from Newfoundland now? I said, come on.
Picking up my accent.
Yeah, I like that.
I mean, my son, my two boys, when I was contemplating suicide, I was going to do it by hanging. I tested my weight on the bar I was going to tie off to. And my oldest son at the time, he was 13 or 14, he used to ride a scooter, so one leg is always pushing. So as I was tying the knots, I just thought, the reality of what I was about to do set in. And I said, tomorrow I'll be in a box, there's no doubt, but he's still going to have a hole in his shoe.
Right.
So I said, I'm not done yet.
No.
And it was a sneaker.
Well, that totally resonates with me. I just, the idea of family and we have stuff, as big as the mountain seems to get through, the work isn't done, and people are relying on it and relying on you, and people need that message. What I see that light that you're spreading by talking about this, it's going to help people, and it is helping people. You see it already. You were at a cannabis dinner?
Yes, on Saturday.
You're at a cannabis dinner with other vets, and you were telling me a story. Tell me the story. There was somebody from Ottawa. Something happened.
There's a lady. Well, we had.
You had no idea who she even was.
No, I'd never met her before. She's a fan of the page of my show. And so we held a contest for this dinner on Saturday through Hempster and the Food Dudes in Toronto. So we had me and a couple of other guys, and then we opened up a contest to have people come down to join us. So this lady won one of the seats, and I was a bit late getting to the meet and greet because of the weather. So when I kind of came
or because Ari can't drive. Yeah. He was late everywhere. I'm just saying.
So I come in through the door with my suitcase and stuff, and when she seen me, she just started to cry, I can't believe you're here. And she told me that I saved her life.
Right. You did. I'm sure you did. I'm sure you saved a lot of people's lives by doing
extremely humbling, It's extremely humbling. And then I got to have to, it just reminds me that what I'm doing, I am reaching people, And, to see her at the dinner and smiling, and she didn't know any of the other vets there, and she was just so detached from the veteran community. And when she was leaving, she gave me a hug and she said, I found a family again. With all the people that we introduced her to this weekend, and kind of, you don't have to hide. And a dear friend of mine, Bruce, he said, it's time, we're not going to whisper anymore.
Right.
And it's and that's the thing is with that court of public opinion, what people think, you're just a pothead, you're just this, you're just that, you don't work. It's PTSD for me is it's more or less, I guess if I was to nutshell it, it's a lack of control over my emotions. Mm-hmm. I can cry at a TV commercial. I think differently, and sometimes when people come out and attack, it's, they just don't understand what they're doing, because it's the word that stays with me, or the insult or whatever, but it's
a lack of understanding of, I'd say people's ignorance. I don't use the word ignorant to say that they're not smart people. It's a lack of
manners.
It's a lack of manners and understanding another person's situation. Maybe a little empathy, but a lack of empathy. I'm not sure if it's even that. I just don't think they understand where you're coming from.
Well, the thing is, to look at me, I look fine. I look healthy.
Handsome fella.
Right, thank you. I look
yeah,
healthy. I
good
doesn't
looking
look like
dude.
there's
You got a
anything
nice
wrong,
little
right?
goatee. I get sort of jealous of stuff like that. I get, if you got a nice little lash. How long you been growing that, by the way?
About a year now, I think.
Really, a year. Looks good. I gotta get. Maybe I'll grow that a little bit longer.
There you
too.
go. Yeah.
Stick some earrings in.
That's right. See, yeah, that's I don't know. I mean, just people dealing with the fact that I look fine, which is one of the. It's almost could be considered another symptom of PTSD, because you got to deal with the fact that there's nothing wrong with you. Go back to work.
Right.
And it's like, but there is something wrong
Right.
with me. And then you got to. How deep do you want to go in detail just to get someone to kind of, now do you see? So I used to want to do that. Now it's not my job. You take the time to learn it. PTSD is too big of an umbrella.
Yeah.
And there's so many conditions that fall under it that, if it affects you or a family member, you will pay attention to it. But if it doesn't, it's easy to look at me and say I'm lazy.
Right.
Or I'm,
It's a lack of understanding.
That's
on
exactly
people.
what it is. But I mean, it's,
And you talk about, you kind of mentioned earlier on the trolls are starting to come out.
Yes.
Actually, man, I love your quotes. This will be one of the last quotes, but I love this quote. Until you've done what I've done and are standing where I'm standing, go fuck yourself. You said that. I'm just quoting you. I don't have to drop in the jar. That's a quote.
Yeah,
Okay, that is a quote. I love that.
Remarkably sounds like me.
And you're talking about internet trolls, but I think, just on a greater scale, as soon as and I say this, you should wear it as a badge of honor, because as soon as there's somebody who has something negative to say about what you're doing, you know that people are listening.
Absolutely.
And there's always going to be a hater out there. Either they're jealous, they don't understand. Some of them are sitting on the couch, they're not really doing anything. They're not getting out there and speaking their mind and speaking their truth. And all you can do is speak your truth and hope that people understand it. So you're going to see that. I get it every day.
Yeah.
You're going to have people out there that are going to hate on you, and you're going to have people out there that are going to love on you. And hopefully, what you realize is that the message you're sending to the world is and to your community and to building a community is spreading that light, and that the PTSD is real, but there's an outlet.
Yes.
And if you had to send one message to people that, for example, that are listening to this that don't know where to start and they're a veteran, yeah, of course you can call Canna Connect, but outside of calling Canna Connect, how can you connect with a great name? How can you connect with the community? Where would they go? Well, if you had one thing to say to them right now, as we close up, what are we going to say?
The first thing I would say is, I've had people come to me on behalf of their spouse and this sort of thing, because I can't say, and I don't diagnose anybody, of course, I'm not a doctor.
Yeah.
I just kind of, but when, if you notice that your life is changing and things that you enjoyed, you're no longer enjoying, and I did not think I had PTSD. I was just angry. So I'm not saying that, that you may, but mental illness or, mental conditions are debilitating. And, I've said it before that, if you break your finger, your brain will tell you to favor your finger because it's sore, it's broken.
Right.
But if your brain is the thing that's broken,
where do you go?
What do? Your brain tells you to do all kinds of crazy shit then, right?
Right.
So it's, but it's kind of for the people that, if you're not sure if you need help, it costs nothing to go talk to somebody. And that's the first thing I would advise, is to sit down with someone who knows what they're talking about, most importantly, and someone who's got your back, someone who you feel comfortable with, your family doctor, it could be an old army buddy, whatever.
Right.
And kind of what do you think I should do? And then be leery of the fact that the first thing they're going to come at you with is pharmaceuticals.
Right.
Right? Because cannabis for me was the last choice, and I love the fact that it's now becoming the first choice for people.
Right.
Because I had to do all of the other hoops, or jump through the other hoops.
I say it should be your, it's usually your last ditch effort, but it should be your first option.
Yes.
And not your last ditch hope.
That's right. We got guys out there now that are taking, heartburn pills because of ulcers, because of some of these medications. That's and
right.
stuff,
And
so
heartburn pills, by the way, have their own side effects. effects.
Right. So so I mean, it's a dog chasing its tail. So when you get on these things, and it takes a lot of strength, intestinal fortitude, and support to get off of it, and to go forward with it.
Oh.
And keeping positive is the biggest thing I think cannabis has done for me. And things are easier when they're positive.
Yeah, 100%. And you got to spread light. And I think that's what you're doing. I know usually we play this game here at the end, but I feel like we all need to medicate first to play this game. So we're going to skip it. I know you guys got to get to the hockey game as well. That starts in a couple hours. Shamus, I really want to thank you for coming on here today and spreading your light and your truth to talk about PTSD and mental health and yourself and your experience in the military and how you got into cannabis. I think all those things spread light, and you're going to save lives and continue to save lives by spreading your knowledge. You don't need to be a doctor to help people. You just need to spread your truth, and I think that's what you're doing. And honestly, that first quote, I want to frickin' end with it. I love it. If you're judging me on the way you knew me, let me introduce myself. I love it. Thanks for coming on.
Absolute pleasure.
And that's all I got to say. And I want to have you on again. So every time you're here, let's just, come on out and we'll shoot the shit.
Absolutely.
Is that
it was
cool?
a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming on.